Rhubarb.
Hi, I'm Daniel Wolf, the author of Rhubarb lipsinc. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create lip-sync animation in Spine using Rhubarb lipsinc for Spine. Let me start by showing you what the finished animation will look like.
Have you heard about Rhubarb lipsinc? It's a tool that takes voice recordings and spits out finished mouth animations. And now you can import the results right into Spine.
There are a number of ways to use Rhubarb lipsinc. There is a command line interface that allows you to animate thousands of recordings in a single automated batch operation that's great for video games with lots of dialogue. But if you only need lip-sync for a small number of recordings, it is often easier to use an interactive tool. Rhubarb for Spine is such a tool, and it comes as part of the Rhubarb download. Here, I'm on the official GitHub site for Rhubarb lipsinc. I'll put the link in the description. To download Rhubarb, you don't click on this large green button saying download. Instead, we need to click on this releases link. As of the making of this video, the most current release is version 1.10, and I'm on Windows, so that's what I'll download. Once the download is complete, we can extract the zip archive anywhere we want. Inside, here we see the command line tool, but we want to go to the extras folder and within that, esoteric software Spine. And here we have Rhubarb for Spine. We don't need to install anything, so next we'll switch to Spine. I'm using Spine 3.8, but you can use any version starting at 3.7. Here's a simple little skeleton I created for this demo. Rhubarb for Spine works with just about any skeleton you can create in Spine. The only important thing is that you set up your mouth shapes correctly. Here is my mouth slot. You can name it anything you like, but I suggest that you choose a name that contains the word mouth. If you do, Rhubarb will recognize the mouth slot automatically and you'll save a few mouse clicks later on. The mouth slot contains a number of attachments that show the individual mouth shapes. You can see that I named them all mouth underscore and a letter from A through H. Again, you are free in how you name these attachments. There's only one rule. All the mouth attachments must have the same name, except for that single letter. This part is very important, so let me give you a few examples. I called my attachments mouth underscore A, mouth underscore B, and so on. And as you can see, the only difference between these names is that single letter. I might just as well have called them A minus shape, B minus shape, and so on. Or mouth space A, mouth space B, and mouth space C using capital letters. Or just capital A, capital B, and capital C. But we could not, for instance, name them mouth minus A, mouth space B, and capital C. Whatever naming scheme you choose, it must be consistent. At this point, you might wonder what these letters actually mean. Clearly, the A shape does not show this guy saying A or A. The B shape isn't saying B, and so on. In fact, naming mouth shapes with letters has a long tradition. Just about every hand-animated TV show since the 1960s has used the exact same system from Scooby-Doo all the way to The Simpsons. Here is a mouth chart from the production of The Smurfs. As you can see, A represents a closed mouth, B is slightly opened, C is even more open, D is all the way open, E is slightly rounded, and F is fully rounded. These 6 mouth shapes, A through F, form the basic set that you need. Many TV shows have added more mouth shapes after these first 6, and Rhubarb lipsinc allows you to do that too. Let's go back to the Rhubarb website and have a look at the documentation. As you can see, there are very detailed descriptions of these mouth shapes. I recommend that you read these descriptions carefully, because they will allow you to create better looking animation. Here are the 6 mandatory mouth shapes, A through F, and down here are the optional mouth shapes, G, H, and X. They can make your animation look better, but you are free to omit any or all of them. Now, let's start animating. As you can see, my spine project contains 3 audio events. Our goal is to create 3 lip-synced animations based on these audio events. To do this, we first have to export our skeleton to a JSON file. So let's head to Spine, Export. In this dialog, there are a number of things we need to check. First, the data format needs to be set to JSON, not binary. Here on the right, it should again say JSON, not JavaScript or minimal. Next, we need to make sure that the output folder is the same folder that contains the .spine file with the spine project. This is very important, otherwise rhubarb won't be able to find your audio files. Finally, the checkbox that says non-essential data needs to be checked. If we don't check it, the exported JSON file will be missing some information and rhubarb will complain about that. Once we've checked these settings, we can click on Export. Now that we've exported the skeleton to a JSON file, we can import this JSON file into rhubarb for spine. On Windows, I can just double-click the jar file to start the application. To import the JSON file, we'll drag the file from the Explorer onto the rhubarb window. At this point, rhubarb for spine will automatically detect a number of things for us. Let's go through them one by one. Remember that we named the mouth slot Mouth. This has allowed rhubarb to find it and to automatically select it in the Mouth slot dropdown. If we had chosen a different name, we could still manually select it here. Next, rhubarb has analyzed the names of our mouth-shaped attachments and deduced that our naming scheme is mouth _ followed by the lowercase name of the mouth shape. That's absolutely correct. If we had made an error and the mouth shapes weren't named consistently, rhubarb would tell us here. Lastly, rhubarb informs us that it has found attachments for all 6 basic mouth shapes and for 2 out of 3 extended mouth shapes. This is all correct, so let's move on. We'll leave the dialog recognizer set to Pocket Sphinx. For English dialog, that's currently the best setting. In these fields, we can specify how the generated animations should be named. The default is say _ followed by the name of the audio event. Down here, we have a list of all audio events in the JSON file. For each event, we get a preview of what the generated animation would be named. The audio event 1 Have You Heard will be converted into an animation called say _ 1 Have You Heard, and so on. We want to animate all 3 audio events, so let's click the Animate button for each event. Rhubarb will now analyze the audio and create the animations for us. At this point, rhubarb has added the new animations to the JSON file and has automatically saved it. To see them, we need to import the JSON file back into Spine. Now, Spine gives us the option to import the JSON file into the existing skeleton. However, for reasons that I couldn't figure out, if we do that, Spine doesn't seem to find the new animations in the JSON file. The only way I could find that works is to first delete the existing skeleton, like this. Now we can go to Spine, Import Data. We'll select the same JSON file that we exported earlier. The checkbox that says New Project should not be checked, or the import won't work properly. Instead, we'll tell Spine to create a new skeleton named like the old one. Let's click OK. And here we have our 3 new animations. Let me play them back for you.
Have you heard about rhubarb lip sync? It's a tool that takes voice recordings and spits out finished mouth animations. And now you can import the results right into Spine.
I think that these animations look good, but there's still room for improvement. You may have noticed that our guy's mouth gets kind of stuck when he says, "the results right into." Let me play it back for you once more.
The results right into Spine. The results right into Spine. The results right into Spine.
There are two ways for us to fix that. First, what Rhubarb did was create keyframes for us that switch the attachments of the mouth slot. Here we can see these keyframes, and it's easy to spot that our problem is in this area without any keyframes. So we could just manually add keyframes or tweak the existing ones to improve the result. But sometimes there is another way. In many cases, Rhubarb will be able to create better results if we tell it the text of the spoken dialogue. To do this, let's go back into setup mode. We'll select the third audio event. Down at the bottom, we can set some properties for the event. We can use the string property to enter the dialogue, like this. Now let's repeat the process. I'll export the file again. And switch to Rhubarb for Spine. Now at this point, Rhubarb still has the old version of the JSON file loaded. What we want is to reload the file that is already open so that Rhubarb can see the dialogue we entered. Unfortunately, Rhubarb for Spine has no reload action, and even if I drag the file to the window again, it won't reload it. Frankly, that is an oversight on my part. But there is an easy workaround. I'll just go to the file path field up here and add any character to the file name. There is no file with this file path, so Rhubarb will unload the old file. Now let's delete the extra character and Rhubarb will reload the file. As you can see, Rhubarb has found the dialogue we just entered and it's displaying it down here with the audio event. Let's animate this one event again. Rhubarb asks us if we want to replace the existing animation. We do. That's it. Now we can import the file back into Spine again.
And now you can import the results right into Spine. The results right into Spine.
As you can see, this looks much better. Now, this won't always work. Sometimes the animation will still look off, even if you specify the dialogue. In these cases, you will have to tweak the results yourself. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, you might consider liking the video, subscribing to my YouTube channel, or following Rhubarb on Twitter @rhubarblipsync.